So here's what's going on the US side. Here's what's happening on the Sweetgrass side of the crossing. This says there was no hesitation and a show of support from residents and truck drivers on both sides of the US and Canadian border last Saturday, as many in Sweetgrass and Toole County proudly waved their flags and showed their support for the trucker convoy peacefully protesting the vaccine mandates set forth by the governments on both sides of the border. And this says, this is just the best. With the stroke of a pen, truckers went from being essential to non-essential. We want this resolved. So let's just jump right into this. You've probably noticed the emptier than usual shelves in the grocery store, and if things are allowed to continue with vaccine mandates, those shortages are going to just get worse. Effective January 15th, the vaccine mandate on unvaccinated truck drivers being able to cross the Canadian border affects all of us. On Saturday, January 29th, Canadian truckers, along with their U.S. counterparts, took a stand against these vaccine mandates and all others put into effect by the government on both sides of the border. A convoy boasting over 1,000 trucks headed to Ottawa, Canada's capital, while hundreds of others made their way south to the U.S. and Canadian ports, including the nearby port of Sweetgrass. By Saturday afternoon, the port of Sweetgrass was backed up on the Canadian side for over 20 miles. It was also backed up on the Interstate 15 on the U.S. side. The commercial side of the port was shut down by early Saturday evening. No one from any major media outlets were in attendance, but the powerful demonstration was shared throughout the world via social media outlets. The truckers cannot cross, and they have not turned back. Many are camped out around Coutts, Alberta, Sweetgrass, Montana, and down to Shelby, where trucks are parked in the trucker parking lot and in and all around Town Pump and the west end of town. All have remained peaceful, with few incidences occurring during this rally. They've all been great, said Toole County Sheriff Donna Witt. We did not have one incident all weekend up in Sweetgrass with this going on. Everyone has been great, very supportive and peaceful. I'm very pleased. Under the Canadian vaccine mandate, unvaccinated or partially vaccinated non-Canadian truckers will be turned away if they aren't able to show proof of vaccination or valid medical exemption. The Canadian mandate allows any unvaccinated Canadian driver to return home, but they must abide by strict re-entry protocol that includes a mandatory 14-day quarantine period. The U.S. has similar mandates that went into effect on January 22nd. The U.S. mandates state that anyone who is not a U.S. citizen must be fully vaccinated in order to enter. Foreign national drivers will be required to provide proof of being fully vaccinated before being allowed to cross the border. Agriculture is a top industry in Montana, and by slowing the supply chain by mandating all truckers being vaccinated in order to cross the border, well, there are going to be big problems. There's an estimated 12,000 drivers now prohibited to cross the border as of Saturday, said Marais River Livestock President Dean Laram. There are already problems and a slower chain of supply. This will affect all of us, he assured. Laram explained that there are farmers who have purchased hay from our neighbors up north who cannot get it delivered. A lot of fertilizer is used in agriculture that comes from Canada. This mandate not only affects farmers, ranchers, and truck drivers, it affects us all. The protests are slowing down the chain of supply even more, said Laram. People don't want this mandate. People don't want to be told what to do. If you want to get vaccinated, do it. But with the stroke of a pen, truckers went from being essential to non-essential. We want this resolved within a week. 50 to 60% of the traffic will be slowed, and it will affect everyone. Folks from Colorado North will be the most affected by this mandate, explained Laram. He has received calls from North Dakota and all around Montana. People are concerned and want something done, and done now. We want people to know that everyone is affected by this. The northern people will be hit the hardest, said Laram. One lane of the Port of Sweetgrass has been opened, but traffic is moving across very slowly. Those who are at the border in support of the rally and urging the government to drop the mandates remain peacefully. waiting to hear that they too will be allowed to cross without mandates being in effect. Truckers are an essential part of the economy and standing up for their and everyone else's freedom to choose. An industry that is already short on drivers having more quarantine for 2 weeks at a time or losing them altogether will greatly affect everyone.